Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hardwood Nations podcast featuring myself, C.O. Anthony, and my little white buddy, Bryce Ward. What's going on, Bryce?
Not much, man. What's going on with you?
Hey, not much. Last week we had my tall white buddy, Kevin, on, so I got my little white buddy back this week.
Yeah, a little bit different change of pace.
Yeah. Hey, man, I know you were absent last week. Were you hanging out with Paul Pierce at all?
No, I wish it looked like fun.
What were your first reactions when you saw the video?
Like, is it like some kind of accident? Because some of it seemed like a little bit of an accident, but then like clearly not. Even though he claims it was like an accident and who it went out to, I guess. But
Right.
I mean, people clown on Paul Pierce all the time, so it's like he's got these shacked in a fool moments, and this is just another one of those foolish moments from him. Except this time it cost him his job. So
Well, there seems to be some debate on whether or not he should have been fired or not. I'm leaning towards he should have been fired just for the stupidity of the releasing of the video. How do you feel about it?
um, I don't like to say people like deserve to get fired because people need their jobs and they need to make money, but he's made a lot of money, so this is just he deserves to be fired for the dumb mistake he made. You know, he works for Disney and they have a reputation. I mean, ultimately, he works for ESPN. ESPN is owned by Disney, so you know better. You know, signing those contracts, what you're getting into, and so you kind of have to walk this perfect line. And I think the news gotten out that he just went and did this. No big deal, whatever. But he had to post it live, and people paid attention to it. So there's the problem. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think he deserved to get fired because he works for Disney. So
I mean, it looked like it could have been one of the greatest nights ever, but as people been saying, he got fired on his day off. But Pierce is going to be okay. He was fine with the firing. He's made millions of dollars in his NBA career. Pretty sure he did well with his money. Plus, he was getting the veteran minimum to work for ESPN. He was getting $1.5 million a year. So that's just that for him. That's house money. So yeah, Paul
yeah,
Pierce will be fine. But it was a great story to open the week. This past week when the news cycle was slow, but
hmm
the amount of memes that we've seen from Paul Pierce's situation was just hilarious, dude. Every time I open social media, there's a new meme about it. So
it was wild. It was funny.
it was wild. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He says he's not married, but the Google machine says he's still married. So we'll see if he can get through that
hmm
unscathed, but I doubt it.
Maybe he's going through a divorce, so he's like
Yeah,
considering himself.
he
Not
could
married.
look.
That could be the case.
He's 43, could be going through a divorce situation, could be having a midlife crisis. Who knows? I'm thinking about changing up my hairstyle because I'm about to enter my 40s, so it could be a situation like that. But you're not going to catch me on video with strippers and smoking a joint. Yeah,
He's just having a good time. Like for someone like that has that kind of money and that they're used to that NBA lifestyle. These guys are pretty much used to a party most of the time. Actually, it might have been a little mild compared to what Paul Pierce was used to. He's just like a couple girls in the background.
yeah, yeah.
Not a busload.
Probably was more girls there. Let me ask you this question before we move on to our next topic. Me and Kevin touched on this last week, but I want to ask you because I want to get your opinion on it. Do you think we're going to see a Michael Jordan cameo in Space Jam Legacy?
Um, hmm. I don't know. I haven't really thought too much about a Michael Jordan cameo yet. I could say there's a chance, but not like a big chance.
Mhm.
And the reason I say there's a chance is because there's a massive amount of character cameos in that movie, just from like a movie perspective, not just a sports perspective. So I could see them wanting to, but then I could see MJ maybe not wanting to be in that, or maybe LeBron not necessarily wanting the shadow of like MJ in it. Like it being his own movie, his own Space Jam. I don't know. I think there's a chance, but probably a slim chance that he's in it. Maybe they might mention him. I could see Bugs or like another Looney Tune like mentioning MJ or something.
Yeah, that's what Kevin suggested, and maybe one of the other cartoon characters wearing like a number 23 jersey or something like that. We know those two men try not to acknowledge each other. We know that. So it's just a curious question. I'm gonna watch it just to see if there's a Michael Jordan cameo. But the first Space Jam will always be near and dear to my heart, because my favorite player at the time was in it, Charles Barkley. So that's gonna always, have that special place for me. But we'll see. I'm interested in seeing if he might show up at the end, or if there might be some references, maybe a retired jersey somewhere on the wall, and just the backstory between LeBron and Michael is what's driving that for me. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to work itself out. How'd you feel about the you seen the trailer, correct?
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay. How'd you feel about the job of Lola Bunny throwing the Dwayne Wade lob to LeBron James?
that was funny. That was cool. I had like mixed feelings about the trailer and the movie, just because it was like it's a big childhood memory for me. I grew up, and I was a kid when the first one came out, and I always loved it. I grew up a Looney Tunes fan, in 32. So I grew up watching like the tail end of when Looney Tunes was still popular. So I'm looking forward to it, but it has like the Space Jam had its own. The first one had its own feel, and it was a new thing. And this is kind of like, it feels like another movie, and I don't really know what it's about yet. And I'm older, so I'm a little skeptical. So I mean, I'll watch it for the sake of watching it. But I'm a little worried about it, like in terms of if it'll be any good or not. They have good people making it, and so I'm hoping it'll at least be entertaining and just not trash. I just don't want it to be trash. But I like that they're referencing, real life basketball stuff. They're referencing movie characters. It looks fun. So I'm leaving my like hopes open for it to be good. But we'll see. I thought it was
Got
cool,
it.
the Dwayne Wade reference though.
Yeah, I mean, they might as well. You should have had Wade in the movie. Wade's not doing anything, so they could have had a version of Wade in the movie. So, okay. So, how do you feel about the lineup of Damian Lillard, Diana Taurasi, Anthony Davis, and Klay Thompson? How do you feel about those guys being the supporting characters?
Was there? I thought there. Is there one more?
There's another female WNBA
There's
player.
two
I cannot
females.
cannot think of her name. Diana Taurasi is one. I can't think of the other one. Forgive me, she'll kill me, but I can't think of the other one right now.
Shame, shame on you.
It's it's fine.
And you forgetting it's because it's a WNBA player. You
Our,
piece of
look,
shit.
our, the five fans that we have will forgive me.
Um, no, I think it's cool. Like the little goon squad. I uh,
Mhm.
I hope we get um I hope we get to see them before they go bad, like they did in the original movie, and like watch them lose their powers or their abilities. That'd be kind of
Right,
cool.
right,
So
right, right.
I hope there's a reference like in that way to see how they go, because they don't look just like monsters. Some of them look like Dame looks like a robot or something. I'm
Yeah,
not
he's
sure.
like a robot. Yeah.
So I want to see how they do that. Well, how do you feel about like Don Cheadle being the bad guy? He's just like a virtual Don Cheadle bad guy.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know. I got to see what's going on with the plot of the movie. Like, no one really knows about it. It's gonna be a spectacle, graphics wise. We know that. But I mean, hey, you know, Don Cheadle just needs a check. So, hey.
Hopefully it's good. Don Cheadle's in everything right now.
Do you think that Kobe Bryant should have got the nod before his passing, or are you okay with LeBron getting the nod for Space Jam that legacy?
Um, yeah, I think had they done it maybe 10 years ago, Kobe, maybe. But then you have a certain amount. Yeah, I mean, whether or not you think it's all lies and trash, anyways, which a lot of us do. Yeah, the Kobe name just brings so much drama with it, and I doubt any movie studio or director, anybody wants to deal with that on top of their movie. So I
Got
think
it.
LeBron, and especially with you can go younger with the age group if you use LeBron just because
Right.
of the demographic he hits. So I think money wise, the LeBron makes more money or makes more sense anyway. So plus the timing of it is more LeBron.
Okay. Good answer. Speaking of Kobe Bryant, this week, this weekend, actually tonight, NBA TV is going to have a documentary on the 1996 NBA draft, which of course was highlighted by tons and tons and tons of NBA talent that came into the league at that time. And it was a bit of a transition from the old guard of Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, Hakeem Olajuwon, and even Shaq at that time to the new guys that were coming in. In that draft, some of the notable players we have are Allen Iverson with the number one pick, Marcus Camby, Stephon Marbury, Ray Allen. Kobe Bryant was 13th in that draft. Steve Nash was 15th in that draft. The likes of Jermaine O'Neal, Zydrunas Higauskas, Derek Fisher. How do you feel about the 1996 draft? Many people now consider that draft as the greatest draft in the history of the NBA. Just off name value alone, how do you feel about that one?
Um, well, I mean, there's three names specifically that I mean radically stand out, but outside of that, and I mean, not to downplay the the talent of those other players, but to me, it's not a ton of standout talent outside of those three. You know, it's like team fillers, which I mean, that's what a lot of these draft players end up being. I think, I mean, AI. It's funny because Kobe and Nash fell so far, but Kobe was coming straight out of high school, and
Hmm.
I'm not really as familiar with Nash's situation, so I don't know why he fell or he just didn't really shine in college or whatever he did before. So, which happens, some people just their game transitions in a different way. But uh, the big three out of that draft definitely stand out as and that's why it's so impressive. And especially if you look at the accolades after, you know, AI definitely deserved to be up that high. So but the other two falling and then being what they were, that's impressive, especially Kobe. But I think you can at least make the argument that '03 was it '03 was just as good, if not better.
Well, yeah,
And so,
we're gonna
well,
dive
I'm just
into
saying,
that.
since there's these arguments for these other drafts to at least be in the conversation, it's hard for me to just admit that that one, the
Mhm.
'96, is the best. I think it's up there, but I don't think it's the best.
And forgive me, I forgot about Antoine Walker. Antoine Walker actually went sixth in that draft. So on name value, it has the star power. You have a
Mhm.
cultural icon in Allen Iverson. You have a torchbearer in Kobe Bryant. You have one of the best offensive orchestrators in Steve Nash. And then, like you said, you do have a lot of great role players. I didn't even mention Peja Stojakovic. He was in that draft as well. So if you look at the numbers, because I'm going to go a deep dive here, Steve Nash played 18 years in the NBA. Of course, right now he's coaching the Brooklyn Nets. In those 18 years, he averaged 14 points, 14.3 points a game, and 8.5 assists a game. That's solid. He didn't catch on till the later stages of his career because when he got drafted to a loaded Phoenix Suns team, and he had to play behind KJ for a little while, Kevin Johnson. Um, so I actually saw Steve Nash as a rookie because I was watching the Suns back then as well, and this was actually my first draft watching from start to finish when I was a kid. So I was like, oh wow, oh okay. Antoine Walker was a huge name coming out off of Kentucky um, in this draft, by the way. Then you had Kobe Bryant, who actually got drafted a few months before Shaq arrived in LA. So Kobe ended up playing 20 years in the league, averaging 25 points a game, five assists a game, excuse me, five rebounds a game, and 4.7 assists per game. On top of that, scoring 33,000 points, which is, I believe, in the top six or seven in the history of the NBA. Not bad, right?
Hmm.
And of all the players, Kobe has the highest point total, but that's kind of easy to that's an easy stat for him on that. But and Iverson dropped 24,000 points, and we know Iverson became a cultural icon with his attitude and flair on the court. So the star power is definitely there for that draft. The championships, Kobe has 5 championships. Ray Allen has 2. So now we're at 7. Peja, I believe, was able to squeeze one in. Also, we had Jermaine O'Neal in that draft, who had some incredible playoff runs with the Blazers and then with the Indiana Pacers. So, dude, and then of course Derek Fisher alongside of Kobe won championship. So you even have the championship pedigree. Where this draft falls short is the MVP pedigree. That's where it falls short. Kobe has 1, Steve Nash has 2, Allen Iverson has 1. Okay. So 2, 1. That's 4 MVPs in this draft. So that's where it falls short just a little bit for me. So if we look at
Hmm.
the 2003 NBA draft, it was very top heavy, and what I mean by that is in the first 5 picks, you had the next generation: LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade. Multiple championships outside of Carmelo, multiple championships between that group. You're knocking on the door to the 96 draft just with those 4 alone. But then you have the MVPs from LeBron James. By himself, he's damn near matching the MVPs of the 96 crew. Um, but just to go down the list, because the chapter isn't closed on this draft yet, because we still have Carmelo playing. Um, he is actually the last one standing from that draft. You also have Kendrick Perkins in the 2003 draft. There's another
Well,
championship.
LeBron, of course.
Yeah. Uh, I'm looking at the list now. So, yeah, LeBron and Melo are the only 2 left. And you also have Kyle Korver on this list. So I kind of lean towards the 2003 draft as being better than the 96 draft. But because those 2 guys are still playing, people aren't giving them that rub just yet. Okay. Up
Hmm.
until recently, though, my all-time favorite draft was the 1984 draft, which featured Hakeem Olajuwon at 1, Michael Jordan at 2, Charles Barkley at 5, John Stockton was at 16 in that draft. John Stockton is the all-time assist leader in the NBA. Michael
Hmm.
Jordan is 6-0 in the NBA Finals. Charles Barkley was a rebound beast and one of the greatest power forwards to ever play the game and also won an MVP. Hakeem Olajuwon was perhaps the second best defensive center of all time behind Bill Russell, has a league MVP, and also has 2 NBA championships. The 84 draft is tough to beat. It is tough. Where do you think the 84 draft ranks among the 96 draft and the 2003 draft?
This is how I would rank them without like diving too much into it, like more. But off the top of my head, I would rank 84 number 1,
Hmm.
the '03 number 2, and the 96 number 3. That's how I would rank them. Um, that that 84, that's too impressive. It's
It's,
too
it's, it's,
legendary.
it's a
I mean,
beast.
um, the fact that I mean Stockton is just like an add-on in there, but that he has a lot of clout that goes with his name. It's like the '03 draft is better than the 96 to me because they have. It's like if you're comparing just the best of the best, Carmelo is like the cherry on top because he doesn't have necessarily all the accolades. But if you
Hmm.
watched in that era, then you know the kind of um what am I trying to say? He had a certain like he affected the game in the league a lot. So I think there's just more players in the '03 draft, and that takes the '96 one for me. But '84 with Barkley, Jordan being what he is, and then Elijah Wan anyways. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm looking at and there's some older players here that I know you're not familiar with from the time because you're younger than me. But there's some older players here that still put up a lot of points, like Otis Thorpe, who scored 17,000 points. Kevin Willis scored 17,000 points. John Stockton was at 19,000 points. Barkley was at 23,000. Jordan, of course, hit 32, and Hakeem hit 26. It was just loaded.
Who do you think was naturally more talented, or who do you think had more success because of the system they were in? Stockton or Nash?
Really, you're gonna ask me that as we record? You're gonna ask me
Sure.
that. So who do I think is more talented, or who do I think ran the offense better?
Who do you think is the just better natural player, and then who do you think um, like was successful more because of the system?
Steve Nash successful more than the system because the system hid some of his inabilities. John Stockton is a better basketball player than Steve Nash ever will be. Steve Nash can't even tie John Stockton's shoes, like shoestrings. Like there's no comparison. John Stockton was
Because I've
also.
seen Stockton take some heat because he just always got to play pick and roll with Carl Malone.
Mhm. You keep running it until somebody stop it, right? Um, John Stockton went to the NBA Finals twice. Steve Nash can't say that. Um, John Stockton defensively was a bulldog, and he would leave you bruised and battered when you tried to go to the hole on him. He was a nastier player than Steve Nash, and that's a compliment to John Stockton. So he was more physical. I can't remember their size comparison right now because they did play together. They ran into each other over their careers. But John Stockton is a far superior player than Steve Nash. Did Steve Nash run his system better? Yes, because that highlighted his, like I said, it highlighted his strengths and it hid his deficiencies. John Stockton didn't have any deficiencies to speak of. He was just a better basketball player. Um, and then just running that pick and roll with Karl Malone when Carl got there in '85 the next year, it was a thing of beauty. Like I know he had turnovers. I never saw John Stockton turn over the ball, and he hit all the big shots when it was necessary. Even if he had 10 points in one game, he's gonna hit that last shot. I've seen him do it a few times. My Houston Rockets back in the day lost to one of his incredible shots. Stockton for three. Yeah, even though it was an offensive
Yeah.
foul on Karl Malone, it's one of the biggest shots in the history of the NBA, taking out a super team at that time. So yeah, Stock is no to me. There's no comparison between Nash and Stockton. Stockton was a far superior player. That's why he leads the league. Led the league in assists for forever. I want to say Jason Kidd caught him, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But John Stockton is a goat. He was a quiet assassin. You haven't heard from him since he retired. He's
Mm,
yeah, haven't heard from him,
no,
man. That
he's a
Utah team,
quiet guy off the court.
dude. That Utah team was a beast, beast of a team back in the day. Good question though. Great
They
question.
looked unbeatable outside of the games that they just couldn't get over the Bulls. Which I mean, to MJ's greatness, nobody overcame everything in the same way Jordan did. It seemed like a team could do anything, and you were still like, I don't think it's enough. Like Jordan just has something magical about him.
Hold on, I'm gonna check it out. All time assist leaders because I can't remember if Jason Kidd passed him or not. 1 second. Let's see what we have.
I remember it being some astronomical number. Like they were
Jason Kidd.
farther.
Yeah, Jason Kidd did not pass him. And keep this in mind: Jason Kidd played longer than John Stockton. John Stockton is still the all-time assist leader with 15,806 assists. Jason Kidd is second with 12,091 assists. Steve Nash is third, but here's the gap. Steve Nash is third with 10,335 assists. So he was still 5,000 assists behind John Stockton.
Do you think that's a record that we might not see broken?
The next active player is number 6, and that is Chris Paul. He's not catching it.
No, he's too old.
Now, here's a shocker. The next active player behind Chris Paul, and I think this is the most shocking thing I've seen in a long time, is actually LeBron James at number 8 at 9,669 assists. So he's not going to break the record, but for LeBron James to be in, they don't talk about this. For him to be in the top 10 on the all-time assist list, Jesus
Hmm.
Christ, that's
That's impressive.
that's very impressive.
Because like especially that close to Chris Paul, because Chris Paul is
Yes,
like touted as like this modern age point guard perfection, kind of
bro,
situation, and for him to only have that much more than LeBron.
bro,
Hmm.
bro. This is a great list. Let's keep going. Outside of LeBron, the next active player is damn near as big of a shocker as LeBron James. The next active player is number 13, and that's actually Russell Westbrook. Wow,
Hmm.
he's next. And then right below him is Rondo. Look at
I
that.
was wondering when Rondo was going to show up, but he's had so
Yeah,
many injuries.
yeah. Rondo has injuries, but for a player who is talked about as much as Russell Westbrook is as being selfish, he's right behind LeBron James. Not bad.
Well,
Not bad at all.
people call him selfish, but he averages triple double, so his assists are coming from somewhere.
Dude, he's averaging another triple double this season, and they're trash. But he's doing what
Hmm.
he can. They're trash, but he's doing what he can. But yeah, John Stockton was a far superior player than Jason. Oh Lord, than Steve Nash. I'm resting today. I had to get my
Because
Red Bull.
points, I don't think we're going to see someone break points.
Oh, LeBron's breaking points.
You think he's going to break points, all
Oh
time
yeah,
points?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Because that assist record, that's impressive. I don't think we're going to see someone break Stockton's assist record.
Stockton's assist record is not going to be broken. LeBron James, if he can hold himself together for another 3 seasons and not fall apart, he'll have it. So since you mentioned it, I'm just going to read it right now. Kareem, excuse me, Kareem is number one with 38,000 points. I'm just going to round out there.
Hmm.
Karl Malone actually would have broke it, but his knees went out on him. Karl Malone is second with 36, damn near 37. LeBron James is next with 35. So he's only 3,000 points behind Kareem. He's going to break that. That's coming. As long as he don't tear ACL, pop his Achilles, whatever, LeBron's going to break it. I never thought I would see it broken. Now, here's the kicker. Sometimes with these all-time points lists, sometimes they average NBA points and ABA points. They do that sometimes as well. So like a player like Dr. J, who spent time in both leagues, they will combine his
Hmm.
points, which I believe puts him at 42,000 points. Um, because the
Wow.
list I'm looking at now, Dr. J is not in the top 20, so this is not a combined list, even though it
Hmm.
should be. Um, Dr. J is not even in the top 25. So yeah, this isn't a combined list. Still a good list though. Um, but yeah, LeBron's definitely gonna break that scoring. Yeah, he's gonna break that. And then
Wow.
I think he's gonna have that record for a while. Kareem retired in '88 or '89. LeBron would probably break this record in 2024. So that was still a long time for Kareem to have that
Yeah.
record. Hmm.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And like we've heard scoring numbers from like Wilt Chamberlain, how many points he would average and stuff like that. There was a time where they didn't keep statistics and things like that. But a player like Wilt Chamberlain is seventh on this list. You know who's right above him? Dirk Nowitzki. Crazy talent on this.
Hmm.
Shaquille O'Neal is right under Wilt, but we know Shaq missed a lot of time in his career. Carmelo Anthony is 11th. He's 200 points behind Elvin Hayes. He's going to pass that this year. Carmelo Anthony is going to be in the top 10 in the history of the NBA as far as scoring. Crazy stat. Um,
With like nothing else to go with it.
hey,
He needs a ring.
he should have went. Well, he should have worked it out with the Lakers, but hey,
He should have worked it out with Denver when he was young.
yeah, yeah. He made some questionable choices when he was younger, but everybody can't win a championship, right?
Yeah.
So I like this, and I haven't looked at these all time. I haven't looked at the all time list in over a year. Um, but yeah, LeBron's definitely grabbing that all
Impressive.
time scoring. He is going to be, when his chapter is over, or when his book is closed, he's going to be the greatest statistical player in the history of the NBA. I've always said that. He's not going to be the greatest player with the eye test, but as far as the stat sheet, he's going to be the greatest player that the NBA has ever seen.
By the time it's said and done, there might not. I mean, his fanboys are always going to argue for the number one spot, but to me, he has to do so many more like monumentous things to take the one spot. I don't even know if it's possible, but there should be no question after his career is over because he's still got a few more years to add to it. I think there's no doubt he's the number two of all time,
Oh yeah,
especially after the records he's going to break, everything he's done. So, but we'll see. He still has that time to add to it.
yeah. Like I said, just hopefully his body doesn't start breaking down, because Karl Malone was definitely on track to breaking that record, and then just all of a sudden he was already old, but all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden he just got old, and that knee gave out on him. But yeah, LeBron is definitely going to. He's not going to shatter it, but he's going to beat that record. And the thing about Kareem is, at the tail end of his career, like his last 2 or 3 years in his career, he only averaged 10 points a game. Like they had to bring him out there in a wheelchair. LeBron's not there yet. So,
That's funny.
dude, he was only hitting like two sky hooks a game at the end.
We'll have to spend another episode talking about all-time playoff stats as well, because that's another
Oh yeah, oh yeah. LeBron has that record
little.
as far as scoring. He has that. Um,
Mm,
he has it as scoring, I believe, and he's up there pretty high in assists. The last time I looked at that, because I know that he passed Michael Jordan a few years ago with the all-time playoff scoring. So, and there's some good names, some big names on that list.
yeah,
Um,
I'd say that has to be.
Here's a question, since we're talking about some of the greats. This week was the 2-year anniversary of us losing two greats in the NBA with the retirement of Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki. Any thoughts on those guys? Because my social media feed has been flooded with images and videos from their last games, like I said, which was this week, 2 years ago.
Well, I mean, I have nothing but great things to say about both those guys. I mean, their legacy in the NBA, both on and off the court. You everybody loves both those guys. There's like nothing bad to be said. Almost like flawless careers, both championships, or both have championships. Wade got one before LeBron got there. Dirk put on a performance that's one of the greatest of all time. I mean, it's like, well, you say one guy can't win it, but he made an argument to where he pretty much did. I mean, pretty much did.
Yeah.
Um, you got to have some right role players around to make another shot once in a while. But he did everything. Like that was impressive. The league didn't know how to respond to that. Kevin Durant couldn't do anything about it. Um, LeBron couldn't do anything. Was that? Or am I misremembering? But yeah, that was just
No, he went
impressive.
through. He went through.
Yeah.
He went through. Oh Jesus, I know he played the Thunder in the conference finals. I believe before that they went through the Lakers, and then they went through another tough team. I can't remember who it was, but they had a tough road. And then when they got to Miami, of course, Miami was the heavy favorites, and Dallas made Miami look foolish. I mean, that's just
And
yeah.
maybe got lucky. Was that the first year LeBron went there?
That was the first year that the Heatles were together. So
If that hadn't been the first year, then maybe the Heat can pull that out. But the legacy of Dirk and that finals and just everything he'd done up throughout his career. I mean, one of the greatest of all time, probably the best foreign player of all time. Um, and Dwayne Wade has his own legacy that, I mean, it speaks volumes. I grew up before I really got back into watching basketball again. And, I'm a Magic fan, of course. So, but Dwayne Wade was my favorite player for a long time when I got back into the sport. I'm from Florida. I it's not like I hate the Heat or anything, but they're not my team. But I can respect them, and I respected Dwayne Wade a lot, and I liked his play style. So he always meant a lot to me. Without them being my team, so I've got nothing but great things to say about them. As far as I'm concerned, they're the epitome of how you should run your NBA career, whether you're successful or not. Like it's not all about that. Um, so I mean, I'm glad I got to watch them.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to watch them as well. Just in, and of course Wade has a special place in my heart, and I kind of teared up again the other day watching his press conference after his last game. I tell everybody his last game, I cried like a bitch. I was at work in my office. I cried like a bitch. Get home, forgot the Dallas game was going to be on TV. Started watching that. Found out that was Dirk last game, and I started crying like a bitch again. You know, it's just that's just what happened. Um, but watching Dwayne mature with the Heat, I remember this kid who didn't even feel comfortable doing post game interviews to seeing him now. He has a job on TNT in the studio. It's just like, where did this kid come from? Just seeing him mature in that role, seeing him mature as a man, mature as a father, um, and then seeing Dirk pretty much do the same thing. Um, just being a brand ambassador for Dallas and the NBA, and the relationship that he had with Mark Cuban is just untouchable. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, both those guys deserve all the credit in the world, and I miss them. And I actually forgot that Dirk. I was so emotional that night. I forgot that Dirk scored 30 points in his last game. And if you remember that last season for him, like he really never said he was going to retire until the last game, but everybody assumed that he was going to
Right.
retire because he was playing so bad. And in his last game, he drops 30 at home, and he's like, "Yep, I'm out."
Hmm.
So yeah, kudos to those guys. And it doesn't seem like it's been 2 years, but wow,
Time
and
flies.
both teams rebounded immediately after those guys left, which is a testament to the teams because you really kind of don't see that when franchise cornerstones retire. You don't see
Hmm.
their teams bounce back so quickly. The Miami Heat were in the finals the very next year. Dallas is in the playoff equation every year, so those teams did a great job in bouncing back. Um, and here's another thing I'll say before we leave this topic. Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade are friends. They've been friends since they played together in Chicago. They have the college connection. Wade's last game in Miami was playing against Jimmy Butler when he was in Philly.
Hmm. It's
And that's
ironic.
that's so ironic to me because a
Hmm.
few months later Jimmy Butler got traded to Miami. So it's very ironic to me. And then also, Wade in his official last game, which was in Brooklyn, dropped a triple double in his last game. So it's just like
Hmm.
just great performances by those two guys. So the last thing I want to ask you about this week is ESPN dropped this list earlier in the week of the top 25 players under the age of 25. I'm just going to go over the top 10 with you and get your thoughts on it, okay?
Hmm.
All right, so number 10 is my boy SGA, Shea Gilgris Alexander for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's hurt now, but he is a good young talent. He started off with the Clippers, got traded to OKC, and he's pretty good. He is 22 years old. Don't know if you've seen him play yet, but I'm fine with him being at number 10. Number 9 kind of surprised me a little bit because I thought he should have been higher. Bam Adebayo from the Miami Heat. I believe he should have been higher based on the fact that he's the second cog on the team that went to the NBA Finals. Just throwing that out there. He's 23. How do you feel about Bam being ranked number 9?
Yeah, I mean that works for me. I mean, I know how you feel. But there's more important names. There's bigger names on that list if we're talking about the biggest under 25. I mean, he should be ahead of the other guy because unfortunately I didn't know who he was. So, but I think he definitely falls under the other names that I'm expecting to hear on this list. So, yeah, this cute that you think he should
Uh,
be higher, but probably not.
no, he should. No, he should be higher because the other guys haven't done anything. I'm just throwing that out there. You
What
have to
what
have
what he's been a second wheel on a team that made it to the finals. That's not.
He was a
He's
top.
just piggybacking off Butler. So
He was
he
a
hasn't
top.
done much in my eyes.
He was a top contributor to that NBA Finals team. All right. Next up, your boy, your Kentucky boy. We know how you Kentucky boys think. Devin Booker at number 8.
Too low.
You're biased against anything Kentucky.
I'm surprised you love Booker. I'm surprised you don't think it's too low.
He hasn't done anything. That's the thing about this list. You have to do something. So I'm actually okay with him being at number 8. All he's done, he hasn't even been to the playoffs yet. All he's done is won a 3-point shootout. But yes, I love Devin Booker and he is going to be great. But that's what I'm talking about. For me in this list, he's fine. He shouldn't be higher than Bam. Just saying. All right, number 7, Ben Simmons. I don't even think he should be higher than Devin Booker. How do you feel about Ben Simmons being higher than Devin Booker?
Oh,
They ain't done,
this
they
is
ain't done
this is
shit.
a this is a weird. Yeah, none of these guys have done. I mean, well, that's part of them being young. I mean, usually you
Right.
don't come in the league and get to be on a great team and prove yourself. And when you're not doing stuff yet, you're getting used to things. So I don't. Um,
I mean, he got to the
I
conference
guess they've
finals.
had besides this year. Well, also Philly is having success this year. It's been like
Right.
nonstop success for Ben since he's been in the league. So that's not surprising. But we got to hear more of the list though,
I mean, he's
because
playing. Look, look, Ben Simmons plays well off Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is the driver of that truck. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, here we
yeah,
go. Here we go.
same for Bam.
So Ben Simmons, I'm gonna choke you.
Same.
De'Aaron, De'Aaron Fox in Sacramento.
I'll say he's probably as important to his team as Devin Booker is to his team.
Okay, okay. Uh-oh, Riley's.
I'm just trying to make arguments. I don't know.
I got nothing for that one.
Yeah.
Riley's here now, so he doesn't agree with that one either. Okay.
He's just surprised someone said Sacramento Kings.
Right. All right. So number 5, Jason Tatum. Most
He
people
should be
tab
me.
him. Huh?
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm
Go
saying
ahead.
most people tab him as being Kobe-ish. Jason Tatum is number 5. How you feel about Tatum being over there? Now, I will say his team did go to the conference finals, I believe, 2 of the last 3 years. So, how do you feel about Jason Tatum?
He is too just. He doesn't stand out enough on that team.
Hmm.
If you lose,
All right, get it.
what's his name, the point guard, Kimba. If
Hmm.
you lose him or Jaylen Brown, then it's easier to make an argument for him if he's still doing the same things. But they've got too much going on there for him to be like this massive standout to me. Um,
Yeah.
excuse me. He should be, to me, a little bit farther down the list just because he's not having to do as much on his own
Hmm.
there.
So,
Even though his team has had success, it's like, well, how much have you done? Because only so much of the ball is going around.
he is
He
third.
probably
I'm
needs to be
sorry.
on a different team.
Well, he is right now number 5. So let's keep on going on this list. And by the way, we are reading this list live because I did not study this list. All right, here we go. Number 4. This is going to be a good one. Donovan Mitchell in Utah is number 4. How you feel about Donovan? Now he is the guy on his team.
This that pick makes way more sense to me. Maybe he
Mhm.
should be up a spot or two, just because I don't know what the rest of that list is going to hold. But he's one of the few guys that's uh, proven he could do it and be the guy. And his team had some success last year. For a few years, they've been trending up. I
Right,
like that.
right. They have been trending up, yeah. And I mean, this year, right now, they're still leading the West, so they're great. All right, third pick, my little cousin, LaMelo Ball.
Well, might he probably might have the biggest upside on this list because he's the youngest, and so he has more of a question mark. But I know he's playing point, but he already got hurt.
Yeah,
He already got hurt. He's skinny. He's
yep.
really skinny. So
Hmm.
in the opposite way of you have questions about Zion and his body holding up because of his weight, we have to see, because starting off this early with injuries, being a
Yeah.
Magic fan and seeing all my injuries, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
So I think he's right to be on the list, but you gotta watch how high you put him so young, because question mark.
Yeah, one thing about LaMelo is he throws his body around, kind of like Wade did when he was younger. So he has to kind of get out of that mindset because he's not going to have a long career if he does that. I think he's too. Don't get me wrong, LaMelo's going to be great. I think he's too high on this list. He shouldn't be ranked above Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, because again, he hasn't done anything yet. This is rookie year, so he's putting up great numbers for a rookie. But the way I look at this list is what have you done for me now? All right, number two. Zion Williamson, my man in New Orleans. Your faces. What do you think about Zion being number
He
two on
should be
this
one
list?
spot above LaMelo, but they should be more like 7 or 8 on the list. They should be down there, mentioned, and but Zion should be ahead of LaMelo, so that's right to me. But they shouldn't be that far down on the list. I mean,
Got it.
Zion's already missed a big chunk of one of his first couple seasons because he got hurt. Same
Right.
same thing. It's cute what they're doing, but let's see how long they can do it,
I
because
told you.
it's
I told
just
you Bam should have been
too
higher. I
small a
told
sample
you.
size.
I told you Bam should
Yeah,
have
well,
been
let's see who
higher.
else is on the list, because I was just waiting for you to say Trey Young, and so I could bash Trey Young and put him down farther on the list.
Okay, so number one, remember we did the top 10, but I'll go back and find Trey Young. Number one on the list, Luka Doncic. What do you think?
That probably, out of all those names you mentioned, probably makes the most sense. How old is he?
Luka Doncic is 22. Hasn't had a deep playoff run. Has been in the MVP conversation for the past 2 years. I'm fine with him being number one on this list. I am fine with. Lamelo and Zion, I agree with you. They should have been lower on the list a little bit. I think Bam should have been higher. I think Donovan Mitchell was right. They nailed Donovan Mitchell. They got that right. So if we dig a little deeper, um, hold on, my mother just texted me. Okay, 1 second. All right. To dig a little deeper on this list and then we'll cap it today, I'm just going to read the names off quickly. All right, number 11, Brandon Ingram. Number 12, Jalen Brown. Number 13, Jamal Murray in Denver. Number 14, Michael Porter Jr. in Denver. Number 15, Ja Morant. Number 16, Trey Young. Number 17, Mikal Bridges out of Phoenix. Number 18, and definitely should have been higher, Domantas Sabonis. Number 19, Anthony Edwards from Minnesota. Number 20, DeAndre Ayton from Phoenix. Number 21, Tyrese Halliburton, the good rookie in Sacramento. Number 22, I'm a fan of his. He's a double double machine, John Collins out of Atlanta. 23, Jared Allen out of Cleveland. 24, Lonzo Ball. I'm fine with that. And then 25, Colin Sexton.
It's an interesting list. I mean,
Very interesting list.
there's a lot of young talent. Like, and, it's exciting. We're in like a transition. We're about to be in like a transitional period after
We
the
are.
next couple years.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting when LeBron steps away from who's gonna kind of, because there's a few guys. You got like KD, Dame. You've got a few guys that could really step up, and but it's hard to say where the championships, all that stuff's gonna land when LeBron's done.
Yeah, I think right now, Luca and Devin Booker is going to be the next group of guys. I think Devin's going to learn. He's been learning from Chris Paul. That's a good partner for him to have right now in Phoenix. He's kind of refining his game a little bit. Luca is. Luka's game is already fine. Dallas just needs to construct the right team around him, and they can make a deep playoff run in maybe another year or two. Trey Young is a fireball because the fans are split on him 50-50. Some love him, some hate him. So we still have to see what he morphs into. We've seen Boston take a step back this year, so we got to see what Jalen Brown and what Jason Tatum can do. There's something missing with Jason. I've seen a lot of his games, but there's something missing with him. And I can't quite put my finger on it, but I think he needs to get more of a team mentality. But that's just me. That's just what I think. He loves Kobe. We know that, but I think he has too much Mamba mentality and not necessarily Mamba skills just yet. And then Lamelo Ball, who I kind of saw leading Charlotte to the playoffs this year, was on that track before the injury. So we'll see. But I think the two that stand out right now are going to be Luca and then Devin Booker in Phoenix. So
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. I
yeah,
think Trey looks the weakest. I'm glad he's far down the list because I think he's more like, let me dribble and get my shots, but I don't really care about the team as much. That's just the way I like I've interpreted what I've seen.
yikes, yikes.
So I don't
I
like it.
mean, there's been some talk about that in that Hawks locker room, but
Hmm.
Nate McMillan has come in as the interim coach and kind of righted that ship because the Hawks went on a winning streak after they fired their coach Lloyd Pierce. So it looks like Nate got control of that locker room because it was split, for a while with Trey Young and Sacramento. Those two young guards in Sacramento,
Hmm.
they're learning. So they're not going to be a playoff team next year, but the following year, Sacramento might actually be around. So mark my words, the Kings are coming. Just give them a couple of years. And then the
Is
kid in,
Blotty still in control in Sacramento?
I'm sorry, who?
Is Blotty?
I think he is still the general manager. Yeah, but they have Luke Walton in as their head coach, and Luke still hasn't stood out to me as a head coach yet, so they may make a coaching change. But Sacramento has acquired a lot of young pieces over the years, so it's
Hmm.
time for them, kind of like the Knicks, or took a step this year. It's time for Sacramento now to start taking a step, and they may have to have a coaching change. How do you feel? And this will be the last question because I know we got to wrap it up. How do you feel about Sabonis being 18th? Because him and Bam are very similar. So if you're going to have Bam at number 9, then Sabonis should be right there with Bam.
It some of that problem might just be because he's on Indiana.
Mm,
I'm not sure because Sabonis definitely shows like he can be the. To me, I feel like he could be the piece, like the main guy on the
you can,
team,
yeah,
given the
definitely.
time and the room to grow. Because he's so young, he's shown in the last few years that he makes looks like big strides.
Yeah,
Like he's really developing more of his game and his stats and his presence on the court seem to kind of speak for themselves. I think it'll just be more time and maybe more of a spotlight for him. And it might not come if he stays on Indiana.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a good list. I know Stephen A. Smith didn't agree with the list. He had some bad things to say about the list, but Is I mean, Luca being number one, I don't have a problem with that. But they could have switched some other players
Hmm.
around. But yeah, that's gonna be it, folks, for this week's episode of the Hardwood Nations podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe our content on YouTube, and also we're on Spotify and iTunes. So subscribe to us there, share our work. As we grow, you guys will grow. Thank you, Bryce. We'll see you next week.
It's always fun, man.